If you talk to me or anyone that I work with, you think about Latigris, who's worked with me on multiple projects for a long time. Juvie D has been in there as as well as Mogwai. Self-improvement is the number one way of making yourself a better caster. That is a very obvious statement. Well, if you practice, then you're going to improve. Yes, but it comes a lot more to this term that I really like to use, and it's self-criticism. If you're able to take a situation, if you're able to look at your own broadcast, which I know it's difficult for a lot of people, they hate hearing themselves talk, but if you really want to be a better caster, if you really want to improve yourself, then it comes down to self-criticism. It comes down to being able to look at the work that you've done, be able to apply that criticism, constructive, mind you, that constructive criticism to yourself, and actually be able to apply that in your practice. So if you casted Dawn of the Duelist 2 weeks ago, take that VOD, look at it, watch the first 2 hours, and take notes. All right, so I talked about this play wrong. I cut off my color caster. I didn't drive a point home. I forgot to mention an important storyline. Little things like that are going to be extremely important for you to be able to move forward and for you to be able to find an elevated level of success in your casting. When I first started, I had the, I guess, unfortunate luxury of having a partner, and I don't want to say unfortunate, I want to say fortunate luxury. I had a casting partner, Piscator Josh, and we would practice 5 to 6 days a week for a few hours, and every day we would bring notes. All right, this is what you're screwing up on. This is what I don't like you doing. You're saying the same word too many times. That was a critique of mine of I kept saying or I kept saying right there, or I kept saying they're doing this because. Those statements and those repetitive quotes are extremely difficult for a viewer to enjoy because they're hearing the same thing over and over and over again. And so if you can take that as a piece of criticism and say, all right, I need to find other words to say. So you go to dictionary.com, you go to thesaurus, and you think about the term absolutely. That's a term that some individuals like to use a lot. You think of the term absolutely, you go to a thesaurus, and you say, all right, what are synonyms for absolutely? And you write down the synonyms of, okay, this is it, this is it, this is that, and you take a look at it, and you realize, all right, these are different words I can use. You take that list, you throw it on another monitor, or you write it down on a piece of paper and you set it next to you while you're casting, and every time that you want to say absolutely, you take a look at that list, and you say, all right, I can't say absolutely, I have to say correct, or I have to just not even say absolutely and jump right into the point that I was going to make. And it's little pieces like this, and it's little critiques here and there that will improve you as a caster. Another downfall, and I'm, again, not trying to be negative at all towards the casters in the duelist community, but one of the other critiques is, all right, Saturday, 9 a.m., let's go cast. Let's see what we can come up with. If you really want to be a caster, if you really want to get to a point where you can make a living and get paid on a tournament-by-tournament basis as a caster, then you have to be self-critical. You have to be able to take a look at your VODs and look and see what you can do to improve. That is definitely something that has, like I said, pushed me forward. There have been points in time I have had an entire month to a month and a half of uselessness because I was frustrated with myself, I didn't know what I was doing, and I hit a wall. And no matter how many times I reviewed myself, I wasn't able to improve. And so that's what kind of transitions it into the other point of self-improvement is outside perspective. Get somebody else to review your VODs with you. I have a list of individuals that I do VOD reviews with. I have certain people that I say, hey, I did this and I'm not too sure if this was the correct approach. And I will go to them and they will take a look at it and they'll review it and then we'll talk about it. And even if I was in the right or even if I was in the wrong, it's still all about having that dialogue. If you can explain your mindset for approaching a situation, and then somebody else can give you their mindset, that gives you a different perspective. Maybe they would have approached that situation differently. Maybe instead of talking about the 5 tournament ribbons that No Way It's Jay has, then they're instead going to be talking about his lineup and why it's different and why he's not running a mech deck. And he's known to be a mech deck player, but yet he's not running a mech deck this game. While both points, the amount of tournament ribbons, which show the prowess of the player, as well as the variations in his deck lists, are 2 very relevant statements. Which one do you prioritize in a certain sense? And you might prioritize one. Your co-caster or a different caster might prioritize something different, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong, but it gives you other options to employ. It gives you other things to talk about when you're in the game. And so outside perspective is very important. I had the fantastic opportunity of having some VOD reviews done with Zyrene, a LCS color caster. And when he was reviewing my VODs, it was 2.5 hours of, okay, these are some things you did right, but these are even more things that you did wrong. And while it was, while some could see it technically as a bashing session, it wasn't a bashing session at all. It was, these are things you need to fix. These are things you're doing wrong. And so I had a long list of topics to improve on, a long list of things that I could fix. And that gave me a starting ground. That gave me something to think about in my practice casts. That gave me something to think about as I'm moving along and as I'm moving forward. And so because of that, I wouldn't have been able to improve with just myself, because while I have a large amount of knowledge on casting personally, I don't know everything. And so sometimes it takes other individuals looking at you. Sometimes it takes other individuals reviewing your work and having more or less experience than you, but giving you their opinion on the way that you approach a situation. And so if there's anything that any of you take out of this, if there's anything that you think about or improve or learn, this section to me is the most important. And so bookmark this section on the YouTube video, bookmark this section on the Twitch VOD, because self-improvement is the #1 way of making yourself a better caster. And again, while that's the most obvious statement in the world, it is also the most undervalued statement in the world. And it really, really hinders a lot of new casters and veteran casters that are hitting themselves, that are hitting a wall or they're hitting a hard point because they're not willing to go back and look at their own work. They're so focused on playing at a high level, studying the game at a high level, and understanding the players that are involved. It's great, it's awesome, and I love that you know so much about the game, but if you can't critique yourself and if you can't find a way to review your own work, then you're going to continuously hit a wall. And so that would be my #1 piece of advice throughout all of this today and tomorrow, and all of the casting workshops that I will do in the future and in every genre. Be self-critical. Be willing to improve. One of the most important things in the Riot Manifesto is stay humble, stay hungry. It's a term that I have tried very hard to live by. And stay humble, stay hungry. Yes, you did a good job at that cast. That's awesome. But recognize that even though you did well, there are things you can improve on. And so always be looking to better yourself. Always be looking to improve and be better at your craft. And if you can do that, then you're going to find success and you're going to find a way to propel yourself towards those goals that you're trying to achieve. /rant over.